This video is brought to you by Cyberfighter, available on Amazon and Audible. Hey everybody, I'm William Joseph Hill. Welcome to our second episode of Visual Effects Tutorials, where I show you how you can take your green screen footage and composite it with your 3D set. So let's get started. Last episode, I showed you how to build your own 3D virtual set. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to take your green screen footage and composite that with your virtual set. Now, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to demo exactly how we did it on That Darn Girlfriend Season 2, Episode 7. Good guess. All right, everybody, we are in HitFilm now. I want to show you a basic workflow on how I put the green screened actors into the virtual game show set that I showed you how I did in Daz Studio. So as you can see, these are all my assets here, and there's definitely what kind of a shot you want to do. What I want to do for you is I want to give you a idea of how I would do a 3-shot. That way I can show you how I composite multiple actors, which is basically not really multiple actors, it's me 3 times. And what's more interesting? Let's see. Oh, Davies podium, Davies is wide, and let's get to my original actors here. There's Michael Caine. Panelists. Okay, so here you have Mike Nesmith, Michael Caine, and Jack Nicholson. So another thing too, when I rendered these out from Daz Studio, I basically turned off the background so that I could render out this separate from that, right? Because otherwise I would have to mask the actors as I put them in here, and that's a lot of work. So to save work, what you do is you have layers, right? You have your bottom layer, which is the background, and it's okay if you still have this because this is going to go over it. Notice how basically just the background disappeared. So when you layer these in, it's going to match 100% correctly, and you're going to put your actors between them, but you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's going to be the background. But before you do that, you're going to need to drop something in your timeline so that when you create the composite shot, it'll layer. So let's see. So we have, and I had them here. Where are they at? Okay, so here's Jack. So it doesn't matter which take you select what take you want. This is going to be just an establishing shot of them, not necessarily them talking. But let's just get a shot of Jack just being Jack without saying anything. He's smiling.
Hi, I'm Katie Groovy. Welcome
so you can hear Katie Groovy.
Good guess.
I had Pamela actually talking over me. So I got some really good reactions there. Does it really matter what the audio is? No, because I'm just going to take the video. Drop that into my down here. Okay. So this is going to basically give you the length of a shot. Let's see. We'll just keep it like that. Make it 2.26 seconds. So you can either cut it using this, or let me undo that. You can go back to here and you can drag that, hold that down with the left mouse button and bring it back here to end the shot there. That's going to be the length of our shot. Okay, so now we're going to do either Control M to create a new composite shot, or you go into, and I'm so used to doing the keyboard, I don't know the other way to do it. So let's just do Control plus M. That's going to pop up a composite shot, and then you select OK, which may or may not be showing up in my demo because I'm only actually capturing one window. I'm not capturing all of my windows as they open up, so you'll have to pardon that. At any rate, okay, so here's our composite shot. You notice it has the layers, and this is going to be the length. Okay, so now that I know how long the shot's going to be, I can go back and get my bottom layer. So my bottom layer was the panelists wall for shadow. Okay, so I can drag that below it So now that's going to be the whole length. So if I turn that off, you notice it's there. Okay, but it's big. Why? Because I rendered it out bigger on purpose. What I need to do is I need to right click in here, and it brings up another pop-up window, and I select transform fit to frame. Boom. Now you notice it fits the whole frame. That's the shot I wanted. That's the shot as I rendered it out. Okay, I rendered it out at a higher resolution so that when I brought it down to VGA, which is 640 by 480, which matches my camera resolution, it will match better. Okay, so now we've got Jack. Turn him back on. Boom. But he's too big. He's way too big here. So I need to scale him down. So two ways to do it. I'm using the mouse wheel to zoom out so that I can see more of the window. And then you grab one of these, hold the shift key down as you're dragging the scale. That way it keeps the aspect ratio. Otherwise, it tends to, you know what I'm saying, stretch like that. So this keeps it, you know, aspect right. So now I get him about, oh, what's realistic? That looks about realistic. Where is Jack going to be sitting? He's going to be sitting here. Now, one thing, too, is you find when you are on set, you might think, okay, this is the direction I need to be facing, but in the show, the host is actually over here to Jack's left or camera right. I'm facing in the wrong direction. Uh-oh. How do we fix this? Well, what you do is you want to flip it. There you go. So this one, don't hold the shift key down. That way you can flip it. Now he's facing the right direction. It's a mirror image of me. And that's about the scale that's about right. And now he's there. Great. Next step, I go into the effects and I search for a green screen key. A lot of times they'll tell you use the color difference key, blah, blah, blah. This green screen key, it's a preset. It tends to work brilliantly. Look how great that, I mean, that looks so good. It's, especially this far away, the shot's not so obvious. Now, the problem is look at all that garbage. So we need a garbage mat or a mask. So there's a mask here. You can add a new mask. These are your mask tools. That's a preset. So because Jack's not really gesturing or motioning, my arms aren't flapping all over the place, I can use a rectangle mask. And if I draw, not there, sitting here, getting that, make sure you're on that layer, draw the rectangle, he disappears, and then just get enough of Jack to where he shows up. There's your mask. Now let me move that mask a little bit so that, there we go. Now we got it all. Great. So it's a new mask. That way I'm masked, and now if we, let's bring that so you can see there's Jack. Now he looks a little tiny. I need to get a little bigger, so that's perfectly fine. Now that I've masked it and green screen it, I get a no. Don't use the shift key. It'll flip him over. So you just got to do it bit by bit. Adjust him, bring him up. There you go. There's Jack. Jack is, and as you look at him, see, he's smiling. He's smiling. Now, I noticed too, you heard a little bit of Katie, so what you need to do is you want to turn the audio down. Like you click on it and then drag to the left to -60 and then 60 decibels. That way you don't hear any audio. See, no more audio. You just get Jack's reaction shot. It's like, perfect, there's Jack. He's all, Jack's doing the Jack smile. He's very happy and acting like the Jack we all know and love. But you notice Jack's floating in front of the podium. Oh my God. So like I said, there's a reason why when you render it out in DAZ, turn off the background, render out the foreground. So that way I now have this layer. Watch what, because otherwise I would have to mask and draw around everything so that it looks like I'm behind it. But the best way to make it behind it is to put a new layer in front. Oh, it's too big. Remember, right click, transform, fit to frame. Bingo! Look at that. Jack is now behind. So if I turn it off, Not there, there he is. Not there, there he is. So Jack, you turn off the background, Jack is behind the foreground. So it's like a sandwich. Your actors are going to be in the middle. That's your foreground, which is the podiums. Now they're a little misaligned, so just align them up like that. And check. Yep, there you go. Notice they're lit a little differently. That gives it a little bit more texture. That's fine. If you need to scale it up a little bit more to cover it up, that's fine. Sometimes you need to tweak it. Let's move Jack a little bit more like that, so that he looks more, looks more like he's really behind it. Let's go back and play that, see how that is. Yeah, great. So there's Jack. Great. And again, you do the same process for the other actors. So let's scroll back up to our footage. Footage here. Where's Michael Caine? You just gotta find Michael Caine. He's in here. I did roll video. There he is. There is Michael Caine. So you basically want, once the camera's set, again he's facing the wrong direction. We're gonna have to do the same thing.
Katie Groovy, welcome to everyone's favorite.
Okay, good. So we just want, you know, him just being all like.
One's favorite game show. Good guess. Let me introduce.
There we go. There's Michael Caine. Okay, that's plenty of time. Take the video, drop that here. Again, let's go back out. See, notice he's in the middle. He's below Jack. If he was above Jack, he'd be covering Jack. He's below Jack. Right? Right click to drag that off. Again, I need to flip him and shrink him down till he's scaled correctly. Let me bring him up here. He's a little too big. This is just going to take a minor tweak. Oh, not that one. Another issue that you have is like oftentimes if you find as you're clicking on things, other layers are moving, lock the layers that you don't want to move. And if you're done working with Jack, there, Jack's in the front, lock him down that he doesn't move. So that way you can only move Michael Caine. I forgot to do that before, but yeah. So again, get him to the right shot. And you'll notice I sampled more than him, but it's only going to fit within that one shot. That's the only way we're going to do it again. And there's the green screen key already there to go. Boom, take that off. Again, draw a mask. Draw a mask. There's Michael Caine. Move that mask over center. There we go. Just so that all that garbage is cut out. And there's Michael.
What's favorite game show? Good.
Again, there's audio. That's what always happens. Even if you're only using video, you got to go down to the audio settings and you got to drag that all the way down. So again, you click on it and then hold the left mouse button down and drag to the left to go down. Or just put -60 if you want to type it in. And that way when you are rolling, it's just a visual. See? Now there's Michael and Jack. There's two of them. One more guy. We need one more. Where's Mike Nesmith? There we go. And oh, this is great. He's just Mike Nesmith always had an attitude.
Everyone's favorite game show.
So we're just gonna get.
Let me introduce
Just
our iconic.
there we go.
I
Want to make sure you have more than enough footage. And again, I'm gonna put. Okay, so let's shrink that. I'm gonna put him down below. And again, it's the same process. So let me go ahead and rip through this real quick. Let me lock Michael. Michael Caine, so that we're only playing with Mike Nesmith. And then Mike Nesmith here, we're just gonna, again, mirror him this way because originally when I shot this episode, I thought that my panelists were going to be they were going to be on the other side. But in post-production, we determined that it actually works better the other way. And again, I'm doing a rough cut of this. It's like the scale might or may not. I mean, you look at the episode, it came out a lot better than this. I'm just showing you my workflow here. Again, green screen. Garbage matte. What a garbage matte does is it's selecting what you want to keep in the frame and everything else is cropped out. Okay, so let's, again, what's going to happen is go down to the audio. Notice it's at 0 depth, which basically 0, it's like whatever the audio was at. You got to left click, drag all the way to 60. So when you play this back, you just get all three of them reacting to the main shot. And the shot's quick enough to where you don't see things break. You know, you don't see any kind of defects. And with HitFilm, the great thing is you can actually add a layer, a grading layer. So when you add your color grading, that'll apply to all the different layers, and it's a really good way to blend it, as you'll see in this next section. You want to add a new layer on top of this, a grade layer. This is like, I always recommend using grade layers. So if you're doing color correction or you're doing any kind of tweaking or any kind of filters, it applies it to everything below it, right? Everything below it. So here's a great technique. If you go to blur, and this comes with HitFilm Express, it's a preset. You throw it on your grade layer, it's going to blur everything. Now that's way too much blur, but I find that, hold on, let's go into the controls. So you have, of course, media, and then you have the controls. So the controls for this effect, there's your blur, and it has preset. This is the size, 3.33 pixels. The more you have, if you had 7 pixels, it's even more. If you have 50, you see it gets really blurry. If you go down to 1, that's a little too blurry. See, if you take away the blur, it's a little too blurry for a shot in that distance. It kind of looks like the DP didn't know what he was talking about. So let's try to just do a 1/4 pixel, 25. So see, now it looks a little more filmic. See if you zoom in. See, this is without the blur. He's sharper. It's more video looking. With the blur, it blurs the edges slightly, so that, here, let's scale the fit. That way you can see. That's a little bit bigger than 100%. And you can see as you play it, that looks a little bit more like film. It's a slight, very slight nuanced feature here, but this is a technique I use all the time. Blurring also helps make green screen compositing look less like green screen compositing. As you see, without it, it's like videotape, like match game. It kind of looks like the match game. And at 30 frames a second, yeah, it's definitely going to look very video-like. And the way I lit my actors, it matches the lighting here because it's basically a flat lighting. There's really no contours to it. It's very, very flat. Now, if you wanted to have some texture, and what I did with the actual episode, and I'll show you this technique, is I actually did this to make it look a little bit, let me unlock these so we can work on this. What I did was I created shadows behind them. You're going to have to turn all of this into 3D. Here's how you do it. These little checkerboards, you right click on that and it, oh no, I'm sorry. You don't right click on it. You left click on it and it says either 2D or 3D plane. You want to select 3D plane and it says composite shots cannot contain 3D layers without a camera. Do you want to add a camera? Yes. And boom, you notice there is now a camera layer. So now you have a way to look at active camera or perspective. So again, just like we did with Daz, you can like look perspective. Now you notice everything is flat. So let's go to the top. Okay, so top, you zoom out, you notice everything is, you can't see anything. So let's go back, perspective. Okay, so that's 3D. So you want to make that 3D, this 3D, and you can see as they turn all into 3D, they start to appear. And you can see how they're layered, and boom, the grade layer, you don't need to worry about that. But now, you rotate it, everything's moving. So let's look at the top layer. Now that everything is 3D, you want to select the panel. Where is that at? Panel. And that's unlocked. Okay, hold on. Perspective. Let's do the active camera. All right. So you go in here, you go into the transform here. And okay, passing position. You want to take the z-axis and you're going to zoom it in. See, notice as it's getting bigger, it's because it's getting closer to the camera, but just slightly. Okay, you want to do the same thing with everybody's layers. So you want to bring that transform position a little bit. See, you don't want him too far. You want him to be behind there. Same thing with Michael Caine. You want to transform him. Where'd he go? Okay, transform. Same thing. Position. Boom, boom, boom. Not too much. And the same thing with Jack. So we do the same thing with Jack. Position. Bring him up. Not too far, but right behind there. In perspective, you can move around. You can see there's where the camera is, and it's looking at all three things. Okay. But you want to go through the active camera view. That's what it's going to look like on camera. Secondly, what you want to do is you want to duplicate this. So you do Control D to duplicate it. Creates a duplicate. So if I turned off one layer, he's still on. If I turn off the other layer, Mike Nesmith disappears. Okay, so the bottom layer is going to be the shadow. So you can rename that. So you hit F2 and you go shadow. Shadow Mike. Okay, and so now we're in here. Now I like to position it first before I color it. So you can either do the controls here, or you can drop down here and you can see the controls. You want to go to the transform. You want to do the position. You want to move not the z-axis, but you want to move along the x-axis. There you go. See, now he's right next to him. And the opacity, you want it 100%. But what you want to do is you want to go into your effects, search for brightness and contrast, and you want to drop that onto Shadow Mike. And then in here, twirl that out, preset. You want to bring the brightness all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. Now as a shadow, now he's black, right? Contrast, don't worry about it. Just the brightness, make it black. Again, shadows are never that sharp, usually. You want to have a blur to it, so you go to your blur effect. You go to your blur effect, you drop that on Shadow Mike. Boom, now he's a little blurrier. Now you can go down here with the blur, and you can, you left click on this and you can drag it till it starts to look, oh, that looks good. Boom, that's pretty blurry. But now it still doesn't look real. Why? It's because it is too opaque. So the opacity, bring that down until it starts to blend with the, oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at how well that looks. So now it almost looks like he's casting a shadow. So when you look at the full shot, right, just look at Mike Nesmith here compared to the other two. The other two look like cardboard cutouts. He looks a little bit more realistic. But even then, I need to play with that a little more. I need to blur it a little bit more. There we go. See, it's barely showing up, but that provides this subtle idea that there's really light on the set. It's amazing. It's subtle things like this that you can add to your shots, which are going to give it more realism, or it's kind of like, the thing is with visual effects, if people notice the visual effects, then it's bad, especially if you're doing something that's supposedly realistic. I mean, it's obvious that this is all me playing all the characters, so you know it's a visual effect, but you're not necessarily knowing how I pulled it off. Right, so that's basically how you do green screen compositing. And when you're shooting a game show set, the lighting's very flat, so it's very easy to composite. In the next episode, I'm going to show you what you would do if your 3D virtual set has more dramatic lighting and shadows. How you make that a little bit more realistic. I'm going to be sharing some test footage from the upcoming sci-fi martial arts short Cyber Fighter based on my novel, which is for sale on Amazon. We hope to make this into a feature film. Right now we're working on doing a short for a proof of concept. And since we're in pre-production, I'm going to share with you some of the workflow that I've been doing on that project as well. So anyway, Hope you like this episode. Be sure to subscribe, ring that bell so that you get notified every time we upload a new video, and I will see you next time.